A single dad CEO saw him at a supermarket. Her whispered threat changed everything. He never thought the worst moment of his life would happen in the wine aisle of a supermarket, holding a calculator app open on his cracked phone screen, counting pennies while his daughter waited in the car outside. But that is exactly where Marcus Reed stood on a Tuesday evening, 34 years old, wearing the same blue shirt he had ironed 3 times that week because it was the only clean one left, quietly putting back a bottle of juice he had already placed in his cart, because the numbers simply did not add up. He did not notice her at first. He did not notice the way she stopped walking when she saw him. He did not notice the sharp intake of breath or the way her eyes narrowed like someone recognizing a ghost. He was too busy surviving to notice anything at all. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like this video, drop a comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear this story today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because stories like this one deserve to be heard. Marcus had not always been this man. 3 years ago, he had been a senior project manager at Vantage Solutions, one of the fastest growing tech firms in the city. He had a corner office, a good salary, a wife named Diana, and a daughter named Lily, who wore tiny pink sneakers and laughed so loudly the neighbors would smile through their walls. But life has a way of unraveling without warning. Diana left on a January morning, said she needed something more, something different, something he apparently could not give her. She signed away custody without a fight, which hurt more than anything she could have said. And Marcus found himself suddenly, terrifyingly alone with a 4-year-old girl who still asked for her mother every single night before bed. He held it together as long as he could at work, but grief has a way of leaking through the cracks. He missed deadlines, he fell behind on projects, and when the company restructured 6 months later, his name was at the top of the list, just like that. The man who had built teams and led departments was handing in his badge and driving home to a little girl who needed dinner. The months that followed were a study in quiet desperation. He picked up freelance work wherever he could find it, took on a part-time position at a print shop, sold his car, and bought an older one that rattled in the cold. He moved them into a smaller apartment on the east side of the city, the kind with thin walls and a radiator that clanked all night, but Lily never complained. She drew pictures of their apartment and called it their castle. She taped stars to the ceiling above her bed and told her father they were their own private sky. She was 6 years old and already more graceful under pressure than most adults Marcus had ever known. He worked every hour she was at school and every hour she was asleep, and somehow, barely, he kept them afloat. That evening in the supermarket, he was trying to make $73 stretch across the rest of the week. He had already swapped the name brand cereal for the generic kind, already skipped the yogurt Lily liked, already calculated that they could make 3 dinners out of the rotisserie chicken if he was careful. He was so deep inside his own arithmetic that he did not hear the footsteps behind him until a voice, calm, deliberate, and low, said his name. He turned around, and standing there in a camel coat and understated gold earrings was Natalie Voss, the CEO of Vantage Solutions, the woman who had signed the restructuring order that ended his career. For a moment, neither of them spoke. He felt the heat of embarrassment rise up his neck. His cart sat between them like evidence. The store-brand pasta, the marked-down bread, the juice he had just put back. He wanted to disappear. Instead, he stood straight and nodded at her, because pride was one of the few things that had not yet been taken from him. But then she leaned slightly forward, and in a voice so quiet it was almost a whisper, she said something he did not expect. She said she had been looking for him. He almost laughed. He thought it was a threat. He thought perhaps she had heard something, or someone had complained, or there was some legal remnant of his departure she wanted to bury. His jaw tightened. His hands went still on the cart handle. But Natalie Voss did not look like a woman delivering a threat. Her eyes, he realized, were not cold. They looked like someone carrying something heavy for a long time and finally deciding to set it down. She told him quietly, standing in that aisle surrounded by wine bottles and soft store lighting, that the restructuring had been a mistake, not the business decision, but the way it had been carried out. She had reviewed the files afterward. She had seen his numbers, his project outcomes, his team feedback scores. She told him that he had been one of the strongest managers they had let go, and that the person who had flagged him for the list had done so for reasons that had nothing to do with performance. Office politics, a rivalry she had not caught in time. She told him she had tried to find him after she discovered it, but he had moved and his contact information had changed, and she had nearly given up. Nearly, but not quite. She slid a business card from her coat pocket and placed it gently on the edge of his cart. She said there was a director-level position opening at Vantage. She said she would not pressure him. She said she understood if he never wanted to walk through those doors again, and that she would understand it completely. But she wanted him to know that if he ever wanted to come back, the door was open, and not as an act of charity, but because they needed someone exactly like him. Then she wished him a good evening, adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder, and walked quietly down the aisle and out of his sight. Marcus stood there for a long moment. He looked down at the card in his cart. His hands were trembling, and he was not entirely sure when that had started. He thought about Lily waiting in the car, probably singing to herself the way she always did, making up little songs about clouds and dinosaurs and things that made her happy. He thought about the stars she had taped to the ceiling. He thought about how she called their small, rattling apartment a castle, and how she had somehow made him believe it too. He picked up the business card. He put the juice back in his cart. He called the number the next morning. 3 weeks later, he started work as Director of Operations at Vantage Solutions. It was not the same as before. It was better, because this time he carried with him something no salary could ever purchase. He carried the knowledge of what it felt like to count pennies in a grocery aisle, to iron one shirt 3 times, to hold a sleeping child in a dark apartment and promise her silently that you would find a way. That knowledge made him a better leader, a more patient manager, and a more generous human being than he had ever been before. If this story moved something in you, if it reminded you that kindness can arrive in the most unexpected places, and that one quiet moment can change the entire direction of a life, please leave a comment below, share this video, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every like and share helps this story reach someone who might desperately need it today. Before this story ends, drop a comment and tell us, has a stranger's small act of kindness ever changed your life? We read every single one. Some whispered words carry cruelty, and some carry grace. Marcus Reed learned that the difference between the two can be everything, and that the people who choose grace, even when no one is watching, are the ones who quietly change the world.